I'm here to tell you about a real problem facing our nation's military, the weakening of our Chaplain Corps.
Hey guys, it's Keith Foskey, and I'm joined today by my very good friend and Army Chaplain, Jake Corn. Jake, how are you doing, brother?
Hey, it's really good to see you. It's been way too long.
I know, it has been forever, and I want to begin. I hate when people begin with an apology, but I'm going to begin with an apology and say, man, I am sorry it's taken so long to get you back on the show.
Oh, it's not you.
It's just been busy, and our show, you know, we don't do as many interviews. I used to do one interview a week, and now that Jennifer and I are doing the Q&A, we don't do it as much. That takes a lot of our time, but that's worked out. People seem to like it.
Well, I think you're just too humble to recognize that you've elevated yourself to loftier circles than just your Jacksonville bros.
Not at all. Not at all. But just since you did mention that you are my Jacksonville bro, you don't live in Jacksonville anymore. I don't have to say where you do live.
For now. I'm on my way back.
You are on your way back?
Yep.
Awesome. Is that why you're in town today?
That's right. I should be down here full-time in February.
That is awesome. That is great. Because I met Jake when he was hosting, he was a pastor of a church, and he was hosting the James White debate, which was it was a homosexual debate, right?
That's right.
Yep. And you and I met, I think, you were at Gordon Conwell.
That's right.
And we met at there, and we just became fast friends. And Matthew Henson, obviously, is both of our friend, and he's a wonderful brother as well. He's going to be mad that he didn't get to play today. He didn't get to come and be part of. He could have sat right here. He could have.
Someday.
Yeah. We'll do it. We'll do a 3-man show one day. But so we used to do shows all the time, and we've done everything. In fact, I point people back to some of our shows because we have talked about. One of the most common questions I get is on the subject of Christians watching like fantasy movies and reading fantasy books, like not just Tolkien and Lewis, but other fantasy genres. And you and I did a whole video on that. And so I still point people back to that when they say, "Oh, should I let my child read this or listen to this?" I say, "Well, go listen to this," because Jake had a lot of great things to say. We talked about Christian cancel culture and how we are the first and quickest to go stand in front of a movie theater with signs, at least in the 90s. Didn't you say your mom used to do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Harry Potter craze hit us hard.
Yeah, it scared everybody. Yeah. So the reason why we're getting together today, this was actually a friend of mine reached out to me. I have several chaplains who watch the show. In fact, Diecast Chaplain that's his name in the channel, and C Chaps I think is also a chaplain. And these guys are they're regulars on the show, and I didn't know anything about what Pete Hegseth had said this past week, and we played it a little bit ago on the show. And I didn't even really know the implications of it, what was going to happen as a result of it, or is this going to signal any real change, or is this just sort of another time where we hear words but don't see any action? So I reached out to you. I said, "Hey, you're a chaplain. Would you be willing to talk about chaplain stuff online, or on air rather?" And you said yes. So
yeah, well, that's because I'm about to retire, so I'm no longer afraid of what they could do about me if I'm not going to get promoted anymore. So it's okay.
Well, I respect that, and we'll also try to keep this. And even if you weren't, we'll try to keep it in such a way that nobody's going to get in trouble. Hopefully.
Well, I'm very pro the idea in general, so I definitely could outlast this administration to the next administration who might not like what I have to say. So it's okay.
Hey, I just wanted to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Squirrely Joe's Coffee. If you want to get a free bag of their delicious coffee, you can go to squirrelyjoes.com/YourCalvinist or use my name Keith as a coupon code and you'll get a percentage off anything in the store. Also, it's brought to you by Dominion Wealth Strategists. I'll have a video telling you more about how they can serve you later in this episode, and the information about them will be in the description below. Well, let me ask you this just before we even get into the Hegseth question, the question of how you went from secular pastor. Oh, not secular. That's a dumb way of saying it. Secular pastor. I meant a civilian pastoral ministry, which is what you were doing when I met you. And when I met you, were you already on your way towards the chaplaincy? Did you know you were going to do that?
Yeah. So chaplaincy has been my goal since my entire adult life.
Okay.
While I was in college, I did not have the education or the professional experience to become a chaplain. So at least in the Army, the requirements are you have to have your MDiv and you have to have at least 2 years pastoral experience post MDiv. And I didn't have any of that, nor did I have a way to pay for my MDiv. So I enlisted first to get my GI Bill, got my GI Bill, went into the reserves, started pastoring, and I did all that time here in Jacksonville. And then in 2020, I went back active duty as a chaplain. So I've been a reserve chaplain since 2013.
Okay, so you were already doing that when I met you.
Yeah, so I was a reserve chaplain during that time, getting my fulfillment to requirements to become an active duty chaplain. So that was always the plan. I pastored to be a chaplain. I wasn't a pastor first and then decided to be a chaplain.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you entered the chaplaincy, who was president?
So that would have been Barack Obama. I came into the Army under W, and then it was Obama when I was a chaplain in his second term.
So you've served through Obama, Trump 1, Biden, Trump 2.
Yeah.
So you've seen the extremes of both ends.
Yeah.
What, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of the changes across presidencies?
Yeah.
Did you see a lot of shifts and things that were different?
So this is definitely what the Secretary of War is getting at, is that there has been this slow creep of secularism over time. Now, when I first came into the Army, so not even when I was a chaplain, when I was enlisted and I was working with chaplains, I did music for chapel and I was very close to my chaplains. There just wasn't any question of what their job was. Then slowly they started adding to the chaplain's portfolio things that were outside of what you would think of normal chaplaincy. So, I mean, let's back it up a little bit. What is chaplaincy supposed to be? Your primary job, according to the Army anyway, I can't speak for the other branches, is you are to provide for the First Amendment rights for everybody within your unit to make sure that they have their freedom of religion, and you are supposed to operate as a religious professional of your religion while doing that at the same time. So if you go,
so they don't ask you to be another religion.
Correct.
You're never asked to be a Muslim.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You're supposed to take care of all of your soldiers or whatever their religion might be. And so that might be referring them to somebody who can provide that service. So if a Muslim soldier came to me and said they wanted some type of service, or even if a homosexual couple wanted to, receive some sort of civil union that I'm not allowed to give them, I can't just flat out say, no, get out of my office. I have to say, hey, I can't provide you that service, but I know somebody who can. And that makes some people uncomfortable. And, that's really up to you. God alone is Lord of the conscience. So,
sure,
that's up to them. But no, that's never been an issue.
But they're not making you do things specifically that would violate your conscience.
Correct. And that would be the big blaring red light that everybody would look at and say, that's too much, that's too far. That's not what's been happening. What's been happening rather is a total dilution of the concept of religion altogether. And chaplains are more being tasked to look after what we're calling in the Army spiritual fitness. It's instead of you have religion, other people have a religion or religion. Instead, we're just going to blanket over. Everybody has a spirituality. And so they're kind of slowly, like Indiana Jones replacing the idol, with the weight. They're kind of slowly taking the religious stuff and pushing that aside and putting on top rather this like neutral, secularist, very vague idea of we're going to attend to spirituality. Now, as a category, I think that does apply. Everybody has some sense of spirituality. Even the atheist believes in something larger than themselves, whether that's, we're stardust, right? That's a religious belief that atheists have, or they believe in their community, or they believe in their higher ideals. Yeah, that is, in a sense, a spirituality. But that's not what a chaplain is required to be. You are required to be a religious professional. So at no point am I supposed to say, hey, my Christianity is hidden in the corner, and I'm going to talk about this bland subject. And so that's what Secretary Hegseth was getting at with that video, is saying, this slow change, we see where you're going with that, and we're reversing it. Yeah. People have asked me for a while, like, especially during the Obama and the Biden years, well, how bad is it? Or are you not able to preach the gospel anymore? Well, no, it's not quite that bad, right? I still wear a cross on my uniform. I still preach the gospel. In a chapel service, I can preach whatever I want. Like that's never been an issue.
Even issues, and this is just out of curiosity, you say that, even issues such as the homosexuality issue. Yeah. Could you preach that from Scripture, 1 Corinthians 9:6, for instance?
Yeah.
You could say those things?
In a chapel service, I have. That's never been an issue. Now there are ways that could become a conflict between you and the congregants, because chapel is not church, and I think we've covered that in a video before, so I would refer people back to that. But the freedom to preach is still there. The question is, what do you do in your Monday through Friday job when you're with your unit? And the secularists want the world, and this doesn't just apply to the Army, right? This is, I think, society in general. They want us to believe that there's this neutral ground of secular, blandness that we can all agree to live in. And that idea worked for a long time, I think, right? In schools, we can just have a secular, neutral worldview. It's not our worldview, and it's not their worldview. It's somewhere in the middle. That seemed believable until the secularists pushed further and further, and we started to realize, no, your secularist worldview is not a neutral middle ground. It's actually antithetical in many ways when it talks about whether boys can become girls, or whether or not two men can get married, or a number of questions. There is not this idea that there's a secularist middle ground that we can agree on. And the chaplaincy was never supposed to be that. Chaplains were supposed to agree to live in a pluralist society, which means I have the lane that I believe is absolute truth, and you have a lane, not you, but my Muslim soldier has a lane that he believes is absolute truth. I am not going to crash into his lane, and he's not going to crash into my lane, because that's not how we exist, right? We live in plural lanes. It doesn't mean I have to believe that his view is just as valid as mine. It means I have to treat that soldier as he is just as valid as I am. So those are the two conflicting views. There is no secular neutral ground. Now, what has been happening since, I would say 2008, is that secularism has been given to the Chaplain Corps more and more. So we used to do marriage retreats, and marriage retreats used to be religiously focused based off who the chaplain was. Well, they wanted more soldiers to be able to do retreats. So they didn't want us to do religious marriage retreats anymore. They wanted us to do secular marriage retreats.
And what did it look like? What was the difference between one and the other? I mean, I can think in my mind, but I'm trying to think, what did they want you to do as opposed to what you were doing?
Yeah, so I would talk about, if I was running one, I would teach on Ephesians 5 and whatever the case may be. Now they want you just to teach on just the 5 love languages, or one of these other secular systems, like emotional attachment theory or whatever, and teach all of my soldiers how marriage should work. Now, in principle, I guess that's an okay thing to teach. Yeah. But then the question becomes, why am I teaching it? I don't have anything useful to say on marriage that comes from my own ideas. The only thing I know about marriage comes from the Bible. Yeah. I am not an expert in any form of marriage counseling or marriage therapy beyond what the Bible has to teach. I'm a pastor. Yeah. So, I just stopped doing them altogether because, well, what's the point? I don't have anything to teach on that. Commanders wanted their chaplains to become de facto behavioral health counselors, because in the armed forces, to get an actual behavioral health counseling appointment, it's a bit of a rigmarole. It's a long waiting list. There are way fewer counselors than there are soldiers with needs. And so a commander who's maybe in charge of 500 to 700 people would want his or her chaplain to be the counselor, right? Well, I'm not a counselor. I'm a pastoral counselor. Yeah. Right? So
there's a difference.
I can provide biblical counseling. I'm happy to on any subject. But if a soldier's coming to me and says, "Chap, I need counseling, but I don't want any Bible," then I would look at him and be like, well, then why are you coming to me? Yeah. I don't have anything useful. I'm not good at anything else. Like, I could talk about video games, I guess, but beyond that, I'm not good at anything else.
You could talk about the Nephilim.
I would love to talk about the Nephilim.
We'll do a fast 5 questions later, and I'll be sure to include a Nephilim question.
So, but that's what the secularists have wanted, is just pushing your religion over to the side, right? It's that belief that liberalism wants to teach, which is right, like, don't talk about religion and politics in polite society. Well, that's just something that secularists want us to believe so we can keep quiet. The thing is, in the First Amendment, it's not just the First Amendment was never intended to be protection from religion, right? But we have these nefarious forces like the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the Mikey Weinsteins of the world, who believe that somebody in authority, in my case, having rank over my soldiers, if I talk about my religion and my religious views, somehow that influence is undue influence, right? I'm pressuring the soldier. If they feel uncomfortable by what I'm saying, that's me using my power, right, to wink and nod, force them. Well, it's not coercion. It was never intended for us to pretend like we don't have religious views. Yeah. But that's what the secularists have really taught America to believe over the last 50 years, is that your religion is just kind of a thing that you keep to yourself, not something you bring to the public square. Well, certainly this was absolutely foreign to the Founding Fathers, right? When the First Amendment, when Madison penned the First Amendment, there were states that had state religions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The First Amendment said the federal government is not going to impose a federal religion. States can have their religions, localities can have their religions, people can have their religions. Not only does the First Amendment say the government can't impose its religion, it also says it can't stop you from having your religion, right? But the premise that we've accepted is that we have to keep our religious identity to ourselves, and it can't overtly become known that that's our influence in how we vote or how we make policy decisions. Again, that's not anywhere in our Constitution. It's not anywhere in any of the writings. The concept of separation church and state is not in any official document. It does not exist, right? That is completely false. And chaplains, George Washington commissioned the chaplains before the United States Constitution was ever written. Yep. So that was that in 1776, the Chaplain Corps was started by George Washington so that they could be religious professionals. Now, he said, respect all of your soldiers in their choices, right? But that was not the intention, was that they just be these like bland, feel good, let me just, attend to your feelings, morale officers. And that's what a lot of chaplains have become, are these like, we call them, you're the morale officer or you're the candy officer. You just go around and pass out candy and high fives. But I wear the cross on my uniform. Yeah. Right? Now, I'm not going around saying, if you don't believe in Christ, I can't help you. Yeah. But neither am I going to go and say, well, your view on Allah is just as valid as my view on Christ. Yeah. I'm not going to say that either. But we have to stop living in this realm where that is perceived as how we must behave. And that's how the Obama administration and the Biden administration wanted us to be, in my opinion, was this idea that that if you imposed your view in any way, that was somehow illegal, and it's not. Yeah. For example,
by even expressing your view,
correct.
Not just imposing it. By expressing, you are imposing it because you are in charge.
Now, listen, I want to be very clear. There are chaplains who do that. It's okay to have a guardrail, because there are chaplains who do proselytize in a manner that's, I think, unprofessional for what they do. If you want that to be your goal, if God has given proselytization to you as your mission, by all means, do so. Probably not as a member of the federal government, and that's okay. You're not in the federal government, then you can proselytize as much as you want. I, as a federal government employee, can proselytize in a certain manner, but if not, I'm operating as a missionary in other ways. I often say it's like being a missionary in Iran, right, where the government might, kill you if if you are too overt, but if you're having a house church in your home, you can give the gospel as much as you want. Now, it's not quite as dire, right? I'm not saying it's that intense, but I'm saying, like, it's normal for missionaries to have restrictions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Sure. So as a chaplain, there are restrictions, but those are okay. So abuses do occur, but I think the pendulum has just swung way too far. So, for example, Secretary Hegseth, in multiple occasions, has prayed at his events.
Yeah, they did like some kind of a worship service yesterday.
Right.
I saw the video. I haven't watched it yet.
He's prayed the Lord's Prayer. Now, here's what would be illegal. If Secretary Hegseth said, everyone here must pray the Lord's Prayer with me, that would be illegal. If he says, I'm going to pray the Lord's Prayer, you're welcome to join me, or you're welcome not to, that's not illegal. But the Mikey Weinsteins and the freedom from religions of the world would have us believe that a person in power influencing, right, or saying that his view of religion is his view of religion, because he has power, that means he's forcing. Yeah. And I just reject that premise. right? And we've because of the fear of wanting to offend, right? Because of the 11th commandment,
Yeah.
we've backed off from the boldness of saying, no, I'm not forcing anybody. I'm going to pray. I pray at promotions. I pray at change of command ceremonies. I pray at all kinds of events, right?
And you always pray in Jesus'
and
name?
I pray in Jesus' name. Like that's just not a question. I say, I'm polite enough to have this caveat. I say, I'm going to pray. Feel free to pray with me.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And if not, well, okay, not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to like take notes. Now, if they are taking notes of who's not praying, that's too far, right? It's just like anything. There's 2 ditches on the side of the road, and we've just been living so far. So what this thing is, just to get us back to the video, what Secretary Hegseth is getting at is we recently, as a Chaplain Corps, put out this huge document on spiritual fitness. What does it mean for chaplains to operate in taking care of the spiritual fitness of the soldiers? And I think that's an important thing to do.
Sure.
But there was just... It was godless. It was utterly godless.
Spiritual fitness sounds like, not to interrupt you, but you think of like physical fitness, mental fitness.
Correct.
It's just like another category, and they've taken away really what we would understand as spirit and made it more emotional fitness.
Correct.
That's what it sounds like.
Correct. The men and women who put this document together, for the most part, all the chaplains I know are truly committed to Christ. The vast majority are Christians, are not secularists, are not cowards. They're just operating within the framework they've been given. So I'm not saying the chaplains that were writing this were cowards. That's just the framework that they had. But it was never necessary. We are chaplains. We are not generalists. We are specialists.
Yeah.
And if you can't trust an Army officer to have the integrity to do their job of providing for services that they aren't going to give, right? Or providing the services that they will give, in doing both with the same amount of dignity, then don't have them at all.
Yeah.
Right? The chaplaincy has been defended at the Supreme Court multiple times, as people have come and said, it's a violation of the First Amendment, it's a waste of money, so on and so forth. The concept of the chaplaincy has always existed. And why is that? Well, because when we're here in the States, my soldiers can go off base and go to church. But if we're deployed, they don't have that option.
Yeah.
And so they do need to have that. It's vital. It is our heritage as Americans. This country was started under religious pretenses. Whether or not the secularists like that, that's a fact. It is who we are. It is in our total DNA and identity as Americans. So we've always said that in order for us to be Americans at war well, we're going to do that by allowing each man and woman to bring God with them onto the battlefield. And I'm grateful for that fact. I think it's why we've been so successful in many of our ventures. So what Secretary Hegseth is saying, he's taking a look at this document and saying, this is godless.
Yeah.
Anybody could provide this. Why do we have chaplains if anybody could provide this? What separates a chaplain from somebody who just says, hey, define your spirituality however you want and go do it? Because that's what the spiritual fitness idea is. It's like you take each soldier and you say, what is spirituality for you? All right, let's imagine you're an atheist. For you, it's looking at the stars and imagining your stardust, and that's how you get your spiritual high. Okay, I respect that wrong choice is your choice. As your leader, let's say I'm just a non-commissioned officer, I'm your direct leader, I need to be monitoring you to say, are you keeping up with your fitness spiritually the same way you are physically, right? Are you doing your push-ups and sit-ups every morning? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you brushing your teeth? Are you doing some kind of practice that's bettering you spiritually? That's an okay thing, right? I think every soldier should have that. Are you connected to something bigger than yourself, whether it's a community, a set of ideals? But anybody can do that. I am a chaplain.
Yeah.
Right? That's not something anybody can do. You don't take your dentist and put him in charge of calibrating your missile launcher, right? He's a dentist. I cost the Army a lot of money because I had to go to specialized schooling, and there's a reason why they pay me to be an officer. I'm doing something that can't be done by other people. I had to get a Master of Divinity. I had to go be a pastor in my religion for at least 2 years. So why would my focus be something that everybody can do? And so what do I think is going to come of this video that the secretary put out? I don't know. I'm sure that it's going to be good, though.
Yeah.
Because most chaplains want this. What you'll find in the civilian world of chaplaincy, especially hospital chaplaincy, is way more of this secularist, right? That's just what it's become. If you want to go be a chaplain in a hospital, you better be aware that you're operating in an environment where people want that kind of bland, nonsense pudding.
Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah.
I served with a funeral home for about 10 years. I grew up working at a funeral home.
Yeah.
And I was never given the title chaplain, but I did over 150 services for families I never met. So basically I was like the on-call minister. And I can't tell you how many times I got calls from people who said, we don't want a religious service. I was like, why are you calling a Christian minister?
Yeah.
One group of brothers came in. I sat down, and what I always said to the families, how I always started was, my name's Keith, and my goal is to provide a good service for your family, and I want to honor your loved one and glorify Christ. That was just the way I always started everything. And these brothers looked at me and said, you can't do that. And I said, well, why not? Well, we're going to have Muslims there. We're going to have Jewish people there. You can't talk about Jesus. I said, you realize, they were sitting in my office at the church. They had come to the church.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was like, you realize I'm a Christian pastor, right? Like I'm a Baptist minister.
Exactly.
I can't do this if I can't talk about Christ. And they said, well, then you can't do it. I said, well, God bless you. Goodbye.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the premise, right? That's the premise that America has started to accept in many arenas of life. At school, at your workplace, you have to hide Christianity.
Yeah.
And we never agreed to that as a social contract.
Yeah.
Like the liberals think that we've agreed to that as a social contract. They think they won. And I think a big thing that came out with the 2024 election was us saying, we don't agree with your social contract.
That's right.
We don't want to live that way. We can bring Christ with us. If I'm, force baptizing you, then take me to jail. But if I'm just talking about my ideas, you aren't free from the influence of ideas making you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is not a freedom that's guaranteed to you. If you don't like it, you're free to go. Now, yeah, there is a balance of if I'm your boss and I lock the door and say, you're going to listen to me, give you, right? Okay, that might be going too far. But to admit that that's too far is not to totally give up the other side of the equation and say, I'm never going to talk about Christ. The right thing to do in that situation is to say, if I say that, I'm here to glorify Christ and honor your loved one, and they say, okay, well, great, I'm Hindu, though, so can you honor Vishnu instead? You say, absolutely not, but I got a card for the temple, the Hindu temple up the street. Give them a call, good luck. Let me know if you need me to unlock the door for you, right? Like there's a neighborliness that's appropriate. That's not selling out Christ, not selling out your idea to say, I'm not going to be involved in that. That sounds like pagan nonsense, right? That's the part that I say in my head, right?
Yeah.
Good luck. Not going to be involved.
Yeah.
I hope you change your mind. But that's what the secularists want from us. They want us to live in a world where we never truly believe that we think Christ is the only way to heaven.
Yeah.
Remember a while ago, Senator Bernie Sanders was interviewing somebody who was trying to get a job in the federal government, and this person was a Christian, right?
Oh,
Remember the video I'm talking about?
Oh, boy.
And he said, oh, you believe that if someone doesn't believe in Christ, they are condemned. And the guy's like, yes, I'm a Christian. He's like, well, you obviously can't work in the government. Bro, everybody who's a Christian believes if you don't believe in Christ, you're condemned. So are you saying no Christian can work in government?
That's exactly what he was saying.
But that,
I mean, in the final analysis,
Correct.
certainly wasn't. Yeah.
Now, that's just ignorance on his part, and we've created a society that we've retreated so much from this idea that our point of view is our point of view. We don't have to accept a neutral middle ground. And if I have any prayer for America writ large, is that we stop this idea that we can accept a secular neutral ground. There's no such thing. We tried it, right? And there might be neutral ground in that, or maybe there used to be, that you say that 2 + 2 is 4, and I say 2 + 2 is 4, and that's what we teach in school. That worked for a little while until it was 2 + 2 = 4, and America was evil from the beginning, and boys can become girls, and so on, until we realized, oh no, that Venn diagram is really, you don't want the Venn diagram. You just want all of your circle and none of mine.
That's right.
And so we just can't accept that. And chaplains don't have to. And I'm not saying chaplains are cowards. They're not. I know so many good chaplains, but I do know that the pressure gets more and more on you the higher up you get. You are expected to play nice with everyone. And those compromises are slow and benign. Like I said at the beginning, if it was just the immediate red flag, no chaplain would do it, right? If it was gun to your head, President Biden came down and said, "Listen up, Jack, give up Jesus, or I'm going to shoot you." Obviously,
Pretty good Biden impression.
Thank you.
Listen up, Jack.
obviously, the chaplains aren't going to do that. But if it's the slow, benign compromise over time, then what you find is you can't point at any single chaplain and say, "Hey, you sold us out." Instead, what you see is the system has just slowly been diluted so much that religion is all the way in the corners and secularism is all that's left in the bland, neutral pudding in the middle. And whatever changes Secretary Hegseth are going to make, it is probably going to be great, right? This document that just got put out, the Spiritual Fitness Guide, they've been working on that for years. The Army is the slowest bureaucracy in the world. That had been going on for many years, I'm sure. So they'll do some knee-jerk change overnight. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll sound cool. It'll talk about religious freedom. My worry is it going to last? And that's really what matters. And what can we institutionalize to make that last? Because all it takes is the next president to be a different guy.
Because he chooses the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
And that could be somebody totally different.
Correct. So what I'm saying is we can't look to the leadership in government to solve this problem. This is a culture problem. This is a spiritual problem. This is not something that President Trump and Secretary Hegseth can raise the red flag and say, "Hey, this is an issue. We need to draw attention to it." But as long as America writ large is okay with the secular neutral ground, that's just going to always be the playing field that we're in, right?
Sure.
Right? As I said before, it's not that I can't go around and talk about Jesus at all. I certainly can. I am still free to do my job, but if we ever stopped putting positive pressure, the negative pressure would overwhelm very quickly, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If we lift our hand off the gas, it's over. So it's not so bad right now that I'm afraid, right? I will say I'm freer now than I was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I mean, a year and a half ago, I was very concerned. There were topics that you asked me to do on your show that I'm like, bro, like I can't do that. Not because I don't believe in it, but because, I think the jackbooted thugs are going to come after me.
Yeah.
And I could lose my job. There are stories of chaplains who have preached on homosexuality, and they didn't get in trouble right away for that sermon, but they got in trouble for 10 or 12 other little things, right?
Yeah.
That piled up as they put a target on their back.
It's like the old saying goes, you're always subject to be arrested for something. It just depends on if they want to arrest you.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that was the atmosphere during the Biden era. I mean, it truly was. I feel more free now. That's why I'm even doing this interview now, because I don't retire until February. But the next administration, it could be over. So the problem isn't going to be solved by an administration. It's great that they're being addressed. I'm super excited about it, but it's not going to be a fix unless the culture of America as a whole says, we're done. We're done with that. We're going to talk about Christ as much as we want. If you don't like it, go talk to somebody else. That's cool. Because if y'all feel as comfortable as you want talking about boys can become girls, and you're super comfortable talking about that, then I'm going to be just as comfortable, if not more comfortable, talking about the eternal truth that Christ is the only Lord. So I feel like I've been talking a lot, man.
No, that's fine. I do have a couple questions about the video specifically that we could get to. But I've been enjoying listening to you, man.
I'm very passionate.
You are very passionate, and I like it, and it's good stuff. One of the things that the video that he talked about in the video, and this is where you've kind of addressed it, but I want to step back and maybe look at it from a different angle. And we talked about this a little bit before, so you may be ready for this one. It was when he said that they're supposed to be providing spiritual support and not necessarily emotional support.
Yeah.
And as I was thinking about that, I'm certainly not trying to be an advocate for the other side or anything like that. I always hate the phrase "devil's advocate" because why would you advocate for him? But just thinking about it. Okay, so there are a lot of emotional issues that surround folks who serve in the military. We have things like people who come that have trauma and stress, and a lot of this plays on issues of emotion. And when he said it, it's not about emotional support. Well, part of ministry is emotional support. So kind of maybe talk about that for a minute. What do you think he's addressing? It's not that we don't do emotional support. But
I think he means in lieu of a religious perspective, having the chaplain be the main source of behavioral health. I mean,
behavioral health. Okay, that helps.
I really think that's what the dichotomy is that he's dealing with. And I'll give an example. So grief is a great example. Okay. A lot of times a soldier will have a family member pass away. They can't get home right away. Soldier's upset. So soldier's leader takes soldier, brings him to chaplain's office and says, "Hey, chaplain, soldier's grandma died. Can you give him hugs?" Yes, of course I'm going to sit the soldier down.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him...
Can you give him hugs? I get it.
I'm going to give him the emotional support in that moment. If the opportunity's there, I'm going to say, "Would you like my perspective from the gospel on this? I feel it might be helpful for you." Most of the time they say yes because they know who they're talking to. There's a big cross, and I get to talk about the gospel, right? Sometimes they say no. I'm like, okay, well, good luck. I mean, here's some other ways you can handle grief. I don't really know. Without the hope of the gospel, I don't know. I do my best. But I will always go back to the leader who brings me soldier and say, why did you pass that soldier off to me as a football? Well, you're the chaplain. You're supposed to help them. Certainly, I'm happy to help. I'm very comfortable around grief. Are you incapable of being a human being with empathy? Like imagine this scenario. Most of the time, there's one chaplain for 500, 700 soldiers. Okay, and we're in war. We're generally spread very thin. So let's say I'm at I'm in the rear. I'm in the brigade headquarters, and your soldier is out on the line, and they get a letter that says grandma died, and they're crying, and they can't come off the line to come back to me. Who's going to help that soldier, right? Yeah. You, right? You leader, you're gonna help that soldier. So as a chaplain, I found it's more useful for me to teach my leaders, here's how you address a soldier with empathy and love and care. That's kind of a more useful way to spend my time. I should not be the emotional caretaker for everybody, but nobody else is teaching the soft skills of leadership, how to lead with empathy, how to lead with compassion.
Sure.
So I'll do that. What the secretary is addressing is that has become what many chaplains think is their whole job, is providing that behavioral health. And it's just not. According to the United States Code, Title 10, what chaplains are supposed to do is provide religious services for their soldiers. That is their primary duty, and provide memorial services. Yeah. That's their primary duty. The most sacred things possible, right, is eternal life and death. These are the things that a chaplain must focus on. All that other stuff, if we can do it, is fluff, and if we have time, great. I'll give you an example. So from the Civil War until the 1940s or so, they didn't really know what to do with chaplains. So they made chaplains be in charge of things like the mailroom and
really,
yeah, and grooming the horses, and in charge of intramural sports leagues, and in charge of the library. Chaplains were given all of these jobs until chaplains were coming online and saying, "Hey, that's not what we signed up to do.
Yeah.
You came to my seminary where I was learning the divine truth of God, asked me to join the Army so I could provide that to soldiers, and now you're having me run a basketball league. If I have time to run a basketball league, maybe that's cool, but that's not what I'm here to do." So they finally made it regulation that chaplains cannot serve in these extra duties, which is awesome, which is really, I'm very grateful for that. There are more important things for us to do. But because so many people are uncomfortable with blatant shows of religion, they found other ways to occupy our time, such as secular marriage retreats and this emotional support capacity. And chaplains who maybe are less firm in their religious convictions, or more intimidated by secularism, have been willing to say, "Okay, well, if that's where you need me, that's where I'll jump in."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
For most people, their finances aren't one big problem. It's 100 small ones. A retirement account from a job 5 years ago. A budget that lives in your head, but never on paper. Life insurance that you meant to look into. A will, half finished, or not even started. And the longer you leave those loose ends untied, the harder it becomes to move forward with peace of mind. At Dominion Wealth, we walk with you step by step to help you tie it all together. We meet you where you are. We listen. We get your financial picture out of your head and into practice. Then we build a strategy to meet your needs now, prepare for your future, and bless the next generation. We don't pressure you. We give biblical, honest guidance. Let the strategy follow your values and help find the right solutions. If your financial path feels uncertain, let's get together one-on-one and get you on the right track. Book a free consultation today. We are here to help you get your finances in order so you can feel confident about the future. From baptism to burial, Dominion's got you covered. You can find us at reform.money.
The other one I wanted to address, and then I actually have something that was sent in. We're going to read something. But the other one I wanted to ask was he mentioned 200 different groups, and my assumption was he was saying 200 different religious affiliations. Is that what he was?
Yeah. So this is super inside baseball for chaplaincy. Okay. A lot of people will say there is an official list of religions that the DoD recognizes. Now, people will say, oh, that means these are the only authorized religions. This is the only religion you can claim if you're on this list.
Yeah. Is Pastafarian on there?
No. Neither is Jedi, though people think it is. Right, but it does have paganism as an official category and some of the other Viking categories like Asatru, and it does have Orthodox Jew, and it does have Hindu, but mostly it's Christian denominations. That is not the list.
Which proves there's not 40,000 denominations. The United States military only recognizes less than 200 denominations. So
yeah, that's right.
Take that, Rome.
It's just like, it's a bureaucracy. It's a government bureaucracy. And so we have to have some way of categorizing things. And we just try to fit people in as close for just what goes on the dog tag. And the only reason that's there is so like if you die on the battlefield and we don't know what to do with you, we kind of want to do our best at giving you the best we can.
Sure.
In the States, if I have a soldier pass away and I'm not at wartime, I can meet with their family. I can take tons of time. But if we're out, in Vicenza, Italy, fighting the tanks or whatever, and I got 10 minutes to give you, your ceremony, I got to look at your dog tag and be like, okay, this is what you are.
Fosse's a Protestant.
Yeah.
Or Baptist.
Yeah. So I'll take care of it. Oh, he's a Hindu. Hey, call the Hindu guy. So, I mean, that's really all that list is there for. You can be whatever religion you want. You have your total freedom of religion in the Army. So I don't know what the secretary was getting at with that list. I tend to think he probably just doesn't know what it was there for.
Yeah. He said streamline it. I mean, it seems to me like the streamline would be, because you're the Protestant guy, right?
Yeah.
So Baptists, Methodists, why can't I think of other Protestants?
Presbyterians.
They would all go to you.
Yeah, I mean, said more inside baseball, right? So think about our chapel services. If you have,
I can't believe that I do denominational videos.
I know.
I couldn't come up with more than two.
Well, because none of the others count.
Baptist and Methodist Methodist has been my most popular.
But that's a really great example, though. Okay, so think about our chapel services. I work at a very small base, and the chapel services we have to offer, just based off of who's available to do stuff, is Catholic and Protestant. That's it.
Yeah.
Now for the a-religious or maybe for the Catholic, you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's a Protestant service. What's a Protestant service? What does it look like? Am I baptizing babies? Am I not baptizing babies? Am I speaking gobbledygook tongues? Am I not speaking gobbledygook tongues? Do I have, instruments or do I not have instruments? Like, there's no such thing as a general Protestant. It does not exist.
When my son graduated from Air Force boot camp, we went to his graduation and we got to go to the Protestant service. And the closest thing I could say, the guys doing it reminded me of a Calvary Chapel, Willow Creek style service.
Yeah.
It was just very generic, but it wasn't bad. It was just, they had instruments and stuff. So again, Churches of Christ wouldn't have loved it, but they were playing guitars, singing the songs that most of us knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's a whole other video that we've done before about why I'm against the concept of chapel services if you're not deployed anyway, because you should just go to a church where you have biblical authority to, have discipline. But when we make these determinations, there's no such thing as a general Protestant. That doesn't exist. Yeah. So we just kind of do our best, but that becomes an issue. I was senior pastor of the Protestant service, and that means anyone who's a chaplain on my base who is Protestant, when they serve, because they have to serve at weekend services, they come work for me. Okay, well, I don't believe that women can be pastors. So what do I do with a female chaplain? What do I do?
Yeah.
Do I press that issue and say, I'm in charge, you can't be at this general Protestant service, go start your own service? I could. Like, you could do that.
Sure.
The Chaplain Corps is not going to say, no, you can't do that, but they're going to be like, we'll remember that for later, right? The few nefarious forces that are out there. Or do you just say, well, I'm a chaplain and I'm not a pastor. This isn't church. So in my head, I'm going to say, she's not a pastor. Okay.
I was going to say, I wonder how some guys might find that as their way of sort of justifying it, saying she's not a pastor, she's a chaplain, and that's not a biblical category.
Yeah. So the way I always dealt with that was to say, this is what I told my chaplains, because I was in charge of the Protestant service. I would say, you will identify what your denomination is when you start the service, and you say, this is going to be a Presbyterian USA service. So you know what you're getting into. I am a Reformed Baptist. That's what this means. So if, for example, if we had a Lutheran Missouri Synod guy come up, which sometimes they serve with the general Protestants and sometimes they don't, they would say, this is what our service looks like. You cannot take my communion, but you can hear me preach.
Wow. They would say you can't take the communion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it. Rather than pretend like this is a church and we're all a group of staff pastors together, which we can't do, right? Because I would not work with a female pastor, right? Or a baby baptizer. I would say your service is your service. Run it how you want. And if the congregation likes it, they can stay. If they don't like it, they don't have to stay. Let's just be honest in our advertising and say, that's what this is. Now, at a bigger base, you can separate as many times as you want. Fort Stewart has 3 or 4 chapels. I work at Hunter Army Airfield. We have 1. Fort Stewart has 3 or 4 chapel buildings, so they can have a gospel service and a more traditional service. And if you go to Fort Jackson, which is kind of the Death Star of the Chaplain Empire, they have a Church of Christ service and an LDS service.
Did you say it was the Death Star?
Yeah, the Chaplain Empire. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so.
I'm sorry, I'm having all these Star Wars references. The circle is complete. Oh no. So how about orthodoxy? With the rise in orthodoxy right now, is that a big impact on them? I mean, have you met an Orthodox chaplain?
Yeah. So there are a few. They exist, and the question is, right? What do you do with them?
Yeah.
Do they work for the Catholic service? Kind of no. Do they work for the Protestant service? Kind of no. Are there enough soldiers and family members for them to have their own service? Also, no.
Yeah.
Right? There's not enough. So generally we say, hey, if you could help out in some administrative capacity, like printing the bulletins for everybody during the week, then on Sunday you just go to your church, and if you want to take a bus full of, or not even, a van full of the Orthodox soldiers with you.
VW bus.
Right? And that's always how I felt services should be handled in the States, is just like, I'm going to go to the church that I believe in, and all the soldiers on post that want to go to that church, I will requisition an Army van and we'll go, rather than me try to make this amalgam nonsense service. I'm trying to, how much do I care about getting in trouble? I guess I don't. I guess I really don't. I personally think that we would be better served if we were just honest about that. But there's an older generation of chaplains who truly believe that chapel is church, and no amount of me trying to convince them otherwise is going to change. That's just going to be a generational change.
Yeah.
That generation who just believed that the kind of generic Calvary, Baptist Costal, whatever, is good enough for everybody.
How many people even know what a Reformed Baptist is? When you say you're a Reformed Baptist,
it's more explaining than is necessary, for sure.
Yeah,
in the world of soldiers. So. That slowly.
Do you ever just feel like just saying Baptist? Or do you?
No, I refuse.
Okay.
I would rather have the long, awkward conversation than be put in a category of some of like an independent fundamental. King James only Baptist or whatever they have in their head.
Yeah, Baptist.
Yeah. I would rather over-explain than be lumped in a category that I don't want to be in. So again, chaplaincy just isn't church, and it takes nuance, but that's the beauty of the New Testament church too, is we have to work in contexts where we have an Acts 15 moment every, couple of months, because we got to kind of figure stuff out. As I always said, if God wanted to give a book of Leviticus to the church, he could have, but he didn't. He instead wanted us to bear each other's burdens and put Christ first. So the government is going to make everything more difficult. So hopefully we just lean toward more freedom and less government control, even if that's control by, the pressure that we were experiencing in the last administration.
Awesome. Well, let me pull up this. This is, again, I told you that there was a chaplain who actually reached out to me first, and that was the reason why I had reached out to you, because I hadn't even seen the video. Yeah. He said, let's see. He said, ask him how he works with what we call facilitation, how you're ministering to people of other faiths while keeping your current convictions. That's kind of what we've already talked about. And then this is what he said. For instance, if a Muslim Marine comes to me and I have to help them worship accordingly rather than try to evangelize them. Like we've sort of covered that part. So unless you wanted to add anything, that might be... and this is what he said. He said, a lot of chaplains have relegated themselves to simply cheerleader or encourager. However, in actuality, we need... And he said law and gospel. So as a definitely a reformed minded guy.
I try to envision myself, if I were any other job in the Army, how would my witness for Christ be communicated?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to water it down anymore if I were a mailroom clerk. So does my position as a chaplain give me more permission to press further than I would if I were working in the motor pool, for example, right? So as much as a motor pool person would feel comfortable helping a Muslim soldier get their car needs, their Humvee needs met without having to proselytize in that moment, to me it's the same if a Muslim soldier says, hey, I need a place for Friday prayers. Can you unlock the door for me? I don't have to go, I'll unlock the door for you, but I'm going to take you down the Romans road while I do it. Do I want to do that? Sure. Is that my job to do that? No, in as much as the Christian Army dentist isn't going to be doing fillings to the Muslim and say, and while I'm doing your filling, you're going to listen to the Romans road. Yeah. Now, am I in a position of more responsibility because I'm a chaplain I am in a position of authority. I have to do that. And I think that's kind of what the pressure is, right? It's like, well, I am the minister. Well, you're not the pastor. You're not. They're not your flock. So
that was one thing Hegseth did say, though. What you just said is a little different than what he said, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. So this might be another road we could go down. When he said that they're the pastors and this is their flock.
Yeah, and
maybe it's just two different ways of using the term. But when he said it, it kind of struck me as interesting.
Since he goes to a good Reformed church, I'm gonna say that I don't think. He's ignorant on the subject. I just think probably he has not ruminated on it as much as perhaps you and I have. Mm-hmm. When I'm a pastor of a church, those people are under my authority, right? They have agreed to submit to the Bible. The Bible has placed me as an officer over them as my congregation. Yeah. Right? That's
a really great way of saying
it.
Thank you. Because we talk about the two offices of the church, elder and deacon, and the elder is an officer in the church, set there by the people who have ordained him to that position.
Right. They're only submitting to me as a pastor in as much as they submit to the Bible, and the Bible says you need an elder, and the elder says this is what they look like, and then they say this person is my elder, right? And it's this kind of continuous circle. That is a pastoral relationship of an elder over a flock. When you are a chaplain over a battalion, they're your flock in a sense, right? In a sense, as it is your job to care for them, there is a pastoral aspect to how you treat them. And that's totally okay. The problem with nuance, right, is nobody's ever comfortable saying that's true in a sense. What he's saying is, in a sense, true. My Muslim soldier, my atheist soldier, my Christian soldier, they're all mine to take care of. They are my flock in that sense.
Yes.
But do I have pastoral authority over a Muslim who doesn't submit to Christ to submit to the Bible? Well, no. How would I? He's not submitting to Christ, so he can't submit to me. What pastoral authority do I have? So the word pastor has no meaning in that technical sense. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, that's kind of what he's getting at, is you should always be pastoral.
Sure, pastoral. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't have pastoral authority. This is what's so important to me about chapel. For example, if I had a soldier come in to my chapel service. I know soldiers marry, but soldiers coming in with his mistress. I don't have pastoral authority to kick him out of the congregation, right? To follow the Matthew 18, first I approach the brother, then I bring a friend, then I bring him in front of the church. I don't have that in chapel. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's a totally optional, free environment. Now, from the pulpit, I'm going to preach a hot gospel, right? As hard as I can.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't shy away whatsoever. You can catch me on YouTube if you want to see some of that. But as far as the life of the church, which is not just what occurs on Sunday morning, I have none of that. There's no pastoral authority, which is extremely important. It's one of the most important tools that God gave us for our sanctification, right? And our experiencing of his grace in our life is the relationship of being under the authority of an ordained elder who is administering the sacraments and the word of God. I don't have that over soldiers. I do have a pastoral responsibility to care for them, but I am not his pastor in the sense of that's my church. And that's a lot of nuance. That's more nuance than probably 99.9% of America wants to deal with, right? So his heart's in the right place. He's certainly thinking along the right lines.
Yeah.
We just need to divide that a little bit further, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as facilitation goes, I am happy if a Muslim soldier comes to me and says, hey, chap, I want to do Friday Juma. Can you find me a space? To say, yep, no problem. Door will be unlocked for you. I'll lock up when you're done. I have no problem.
Yeah.
That could be the end of the conversation. Now, someone can come up to me and say, you've compromised because you allowed that pagan to do a pagan thing and you facilitated his paganism. I always say, look, he would have done it without me. That's my job, right? If I were working in the motor pool and I facilitated him having a Humvee, and while he was in that Humvee, he talked about Allah with the other soldiers in the Humvee, I've also facilitated the pagan doing a pagan thing. Like that responsibility could just go forever, right? Yeah. My job is what my job is. If my job is to unlock the door so the soldier can have his First Amendment right to worship in the way that he wants to worship, I don't believe that God's going to hold me accountable for that. If someone said, well, I believe they do, I'm going to say, okay. We'll see. Again, God is Lord of conscience. So my conscience is saying otherwise. This is not so nominated in Scripture that I can't open the door for him. So I'm going to do it. And usually hardliners who say stuff like that, they're cosplaying. They're not really, they don't have any pastoral wisdom generally anyway. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So these are important things to think about. And chaplaincy isn't for everyone. Chaplaincy isn't for every pastor.
Yeah.
I know great pastors, amazing pastors, who would be terrible chaplains. I know a lot of chaplains who are awful pastors. A lot of chaplains are just...
You look the green light.
Look, I'm going to be real, okay?
Yeah.
There are a lot of chaplains who are failed pastors. And that's sad, and we need to realize that. There are a lot of chaplains who are chaplains because they got caught up in scandal in their church, they got kicked out of church,
but they had an MDiv.
And
obviously physical fit enough to pass whatever the...
I know a lot. And that's real, okay? I mean, that's a real thing. Does that mean that, if they're no longer qualified to be in the church or they no longer be a pastor? That's really not up to me. That's up to his or her elders.
Yeah.
That's their issue.
Yeah.
But it is the case that there are a lot of failed pastors who become chaplains. But not every pastor can be a chaplain, and not every chaplain can be a pastor. It's not for everybody. Not everybody can be a missionary in India.
Sure.
Nor should they be.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the calling that God put on my life. It takes nuance. It takes really, knowing the Word, leaning on the Holy Spirit, having a good pastoral authority in your own life above you to be accountable to. I have no problem unlocking the door for my Muslim and saying, all right, I'll see you when you're done. And that'd be the end of the interaction. Because that's what I would want a Muslim chaplain to do for my Christian soldiers when I'm not there.
Sure.
Right? I can't stop Muslim chaplains from existing. Maybe if I did have that, maybe if the Christian nationalists had their way and there were only Christian chaplains, but that's not realistic. That's not where we are. I don't see that being the modality that's prescribed in the Bible either. Right? Christ did not go to Caesar's door or Herod's door and say, here is your new constitution. Go ahead and live that way. So facilitation is something that requires nuance, and that's just the job. That's what they pay you to do.
Sure. And one of the things that you've reiterated several times, and this is I think an important point, is the issue of you're not there in a position of coercion.
Yeah.
And that would be wrong. And I think a lot of times we need to remind people that Christianity has never been a faith by, or it's never supposed to have been a faith by coercion.
Right.
It's not faith at the end of a sword.
Yeah, the crusade cosplayers can shush. Like,
Yeah.
like, yes, that happened in the Middle Ages, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Christ will do that
Yes.
at the end of it
Yeah,
all.
we don't bear the sword. He bear
Yeah.
and we point people to Christ. And if people say, I don't want that, we say, well, there's a consequence.
Yeah.
It's a very serious consequence. A consequence beyond what you can imagine.
Yeah,
But the consequence isn't coming from me.
right.
The consequence isn't coming from my treatment of you.
And again, that's two ditches on the side of the road. One ditch is Christianity by the sword. Other ditch is, hey, if you meet me in secret in the middle of the night in the catacomb, then I might whisper Christ to you, right? No, I'm going to just talk about my faith like Paul did, right, in Athens, as he's just tossing back and forth with people talking about the resurrection.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk as if Christ is real in the marketplace.
Yeah.
We can talk as if Christ were real in our jobs
Yeah.
without it being coercion. And if someone says, well, I believe it's coercion, you say, cool, you're welcome to have that belief. I don't.
Yeah.
Now if I work for a secular corporation and they have rules that say, well, while you work for this bank, then you have to follow these rules, you're free to decide if you want to work for that corporation or not.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people work for corporations that have that, and they get along just fine because they have a robust Christian life elsewhere. Now, how we agree the government should function, that's different than a private corporation. I believe that the government should allow Christians to behave as if Christianity is true.
Yeah.
And that does not require anybody to be forced. But neither does it require us to pretend like, wink and a nod, I don't really believe in Christianity even though I have this cross on my chest. Like that's the part that's silly.
Yeah. So as we've been at it for a little while now. I think we've
I
said
know.
a lot.
I'm verbose. I'm
no,
sorry.
no. I think it's great. But I do want to sort of draw in one last thing about the video, and then then I'm gonna do a fast five with you, and we'll be done. But in the video, he's talking about the changes that are going to come. He's talking about these things that that this is going to change. How has that response been from people that you know? I mean,
Yeah.
you're a chaplain.
Yeah.
You have friends who are chaplains. Y'all probably have chaplain luncheons. I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's the chaplain text groups that are really spicy. But yeah.
Oh boy, imagine that signal feed getting dropped.
Exactly right. Yeah. But yes, we do have luncheons as well.
Okay, so you guys talk to each other.
Yeah.
This video went out 2-3 days ago. I don't remember when it was, but my friend sent it to me 2 days ago, and this has to have hit. I mean, it would be like if I were, my son's in the Air Force, if he came out and said something specifically about the Air Force, all Air Force families would
Yeah.
be.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming all the chaplains were just lit
Oh,
up.
for sure. I mean, just like you, people immediately texted me, family members, as well as all my chaplain buddies. The vast majority of my chaplain friends said, finally,
Oh, okay.
we're so grateful, right? And then there was like the one of 20 that was like, oh, well, I'm not really sure that this is a good idea. It's really going to serve to isolate those folks who don't blah, 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 blah. Like, bro, we know.
That's a pretty good impression of whatever that person is.
We know. We don't need you to tell us that there are going to be atheists and Jews and Muslims in our formations. We know that.
Yeah.
Trust me. They say that to you from the first day you talk to a recruiter, through the first day of your school, through the first day of your unit. We know it's pluralistic. It's just gone so far the other way, and we've given those people such room to dictate the room, right? To the point that the guy who's like, well, we really got to be sensitive, has been the only one talking, so he thinks he's the majority.
Yeah.
And while the other 19 of us were like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever, dude, right? Now, Secretary Hegseth has given us other 19 to be like, okay, nerd, shut up. We got it. Yes, but it's gone too far. We're going to go ahead and talk about Jesus. It's okay. Just chill. We're very grateful. And just like tell that one, like, yes, if you see me actually stepping out of line, by all means, hold me accountable. But that's only if I break a rule, not just because you feel icky about me talking about there being a real hell and a real Christ and a real consequence of sin, so on and so forth. Like, that's where the other side has been winning.
Yeah.
They have said they feel icky when I talk about the definition of marriage, and thus I shouldn't be able to talk about it. Bro, I'm sorry you feel icky about it. It's not against the law. Right?
There you go.
Here's what the law is. And the problem is you have your Mikey Weinsteins and Freedom from Religion folks out there who have been bullying, right? Bullying the armed forces into backing off. And because it's a big bureaucracy and because they don't want to get in trouble, the bullying has worked, right? There was, at the Air Force Academy, airmen were writing Bible phrases on the whiteboards of their dorm rooms, and they got in trouble for that. And so the Air Force came down on the airmen. Well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
They should not have given in, right? And so that's what we're getting now, is saying, okay, we no longer have to give in to them. So super grateful. I only know one chaplain in like my life who thinks this is a bad idea.
And does he sound like your impression? Because
Yeah, he's gonna know. He's gonna know who it is. I say it in love, but you're wrong.
you
right?
are watching this, and it's all about you.
But you know what? You know, they hate everything that's happening in this administration. So like, okay, so what else is new? You know, he also hates ICE, and he also hates tariffs, and he also, it's like, okay, I got it. You're a Democrat. Okay, you don't like it. Guess what? I didn't like anything that happened for the last 4 years. It sucked, but I still did my job.
I'm so dumb. You say he doesn't like ice. I'm like, ice is refreshing. I'm so stupid. It was like the first thing that pops in your mind when somebody, I never, because but wasn't it used to be the INS?
Yes,
And then it became ICE, and that totally throws me off, because I always think, and then before that, it was something else. It's like that name of whatever that group is. So people say, I hate ICE. I'm like,
who could possibly? Well, Europeans, I guess, they don't have ice in their drinks.
I can't understand it. I want one of those ice makers that make the chewy ice.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of that, Fast Five. That's what we're going to do right now. And my top question, because this is going to go out before Christmas. This actually go out today, Lord willing. I'll get it out today. What do you hope? What does little Jakey hope is under the tree for him this year? Maybe your wife will see this, and if she hasn't got it, she'll run out and get it.
It's time for a new tattoo. So I'm really kind of hoping
That's going to be hard to put under the tree.
Well, like a gift certificate.
Okay.
Like my artist, she knows who my artist is, or some new Dungeons and Dragons books.
Okay. Oh man, hey. So funny you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, because one of the questions I got on the Q&A recently was, is D&D sinful? Should people not do it? And I pointed them towards our video. So that's funny that you mentioned that again. Yeah.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's basically what I said. Very good, very good. Okay, so number 2, we asked your Christmas present. All right, favorite book that is. We're going to ask you 2 of these. We're going to say your favorite Christian book and your favorite non-Christian book. So you're a pastor, you're a chaplain. You've been a Christian for many years. What's the one book you think every Christian should read?
Wow, I wish I had prepared for this. I give away any of the E.M. Bounds books on prayer.
Okay.
Not even super reformed, right? So I think those are really good for younger believers who are just trying to find a way to make faith real, right? Rather than rote. So probably any of those I would say. Gosh, now if you're a serious theologian, I'm going to say Reformed Dogmatics by Gerhardus Voss.
Okay, but that's two, and that's 2 good choices. If people are looking for something, again, maybe a Christmas present for somebody. Non-Christian book, your favorite?
Wolves the Call of Stephen King, The Dark Tower.
Wow.
Series.
Okay, yeah.
The Dark Tower series as a whole, but book 5, absolutely incredible. It's a samurai cowboy post-apocalyptic epic.
Favorite Christmas movie? You watch it every year?
Gremlins.
Yes, my man. That one didn't make my 5 list. I did top 5 action movies, but I gave it an honorable mention because I consider it to be a horror.
Well,
would you consider it horror, or would you consider action?
It's a horror movie. I would say it's a horror movie just because it deals with monsters. The reason I say that, so Rambo is not a Christmas movie. It just is happening during Christmas time.
That's right, yes.
But Christmas is integral to the story in Gremlins, or you wouldn't have that whole Phoebe Cates monologue about her dad getting burned alive.
Oh, man. I was thinking the fact that the gremlin came as a Christmas present.
Also true.
But the Phoebe Cates story
Dark.
is well, it's dark, but it's also apropos to nothing.
I know.
There's nothing
Came
in
out
this,
of nowhere.
and they're like fighting for their lives against these little green monsters, and she's just, and he's, if you watch it, and I know you have probably multiple times, he's like looking for things to save them, and
Yeah.
looking for light switches, and she goes, and that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus. And it's like, what are you talking about, Phoebe? Why is this
Yeah.
at this moment?
But it's a Christmas movie because it could not have happened the way it did without Christmas. You could take Christmas out of Rambo and you don't notice. The truth is Nightmare Before Christmas. That's really my favorite Christmas movie. I was just
My
saying that
daughter's
for funny.
favorite, or my Ashley, my oldest daughter. All right, this one's very particular to you because you are not only you're a Christian pastor, you're also an accomplished musician, worship leader. You actually have taught
Middling at best.
well, but you've taught me things, and I lead worship at our church, and I'm thankful for the things that you've taught me. When it comes to Christmas songs, because every year we sing Christmas songs,
Yeah.
and we've been doing that for a couple of weeks. What is the one Christmas hymn that you would say you don't like? Because rather than your favorite,
Okay.
what's one that you would say, I just don't like the theology of this song, or I don't think it's good for church, I just don't like this song?
Ooh, hymn-wise.
Well, I would just, you can say any one, but I was thinking like some of the older hymns, like we always say, oh, the hymns are great, but some of them, the theology is not good.
Yeah.
Right. And
Probably not for theology's sake. Go Tell It on a Mountain. I cannot stand it as a Christmas song. Even though it's plainly during Christmas time,
Yeah.
to me, it's just like so rooted in Southern gospel
Yeah.
ism that like it's jarring to me that we play it specifically for Christmas. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We did a version of it when I was in high school, and it had this really cool intro. I was in jazz band, I was in chorus, and just loved to sing and play music. But it was go tell it. Tell
Okay.
it on the mountaintops. And that was the way we started. I always loved that because it was jazzy. We snapped. It was just.
I don't
really
hate
kinda-
the song. It just to me it feels more like a anytime hymn than a Christmas hymn. So we make it extra Christmassy.
Yeah.
You know that one video of the two ladies singing it awkwardly? Have you seen that one?
No.
All right, I'm going to link it in the comments of this video. It's really funny. Sorry.
Right.
Those who know, you know.
Yeah. Well, Jake, thank you for coming. And I think this is an important video.
There was only 3 questions. I thought you had a Nephilim one.
No, I said 5. Oh, well, I did fast 5. Let's do one last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Your position on the Nephilim. I don't know what it is because I don't know that we've ever talked about this. But you wore a shirt that said introverted but willing to discuss Nephilim. I am on record as holding the Sethite view.
Okay.
So that's not a surprise to anybody who's out there. But I'm always interested to hear other views, and there's not just two. It's not just like the Sethite versus the other. So what's your position on the Nephilim?
So I'll save some of it because I want to come back and we'll do a whole episode on this.
I would love to do an episode on the Nephilim.
I will say
that
one-
would be the number one video I've ever done.
I would love
when
to
you
do
move
that.
to Jacksonville, we'll do it.
I am a huge Haunted Cosmos stan, big time Haunted Cosmos fan. So I hold the traditional Nephilim view. I think Sethites are cowards, or they're
I'm a coward.
they're not good at reading their lexicons.
Oh,
Either or.
man. Oh,
So you pick which one you are. We'll have to
well,
tune in next week.
we will have a conversation.
100%. Though I
that would be
am a
fun.
full Nephilim believer.
Angels had sex with women.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the position. It's not like the MacArthur sort of splits. You know how he's. I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah, no, I am.
That his is demon possessed men, but still men.
No, I completely believe they were angels. When people bring up Matthew 19 or whatever, I don't think that applies because he says you'll be as the angels in heaven who have no marriage. They were specifically sent to earth, and so different value system.
All right,
But
All right.
we'll save that for a longer.
That'll be
conversation.
a fun one. So stay tuned when Jake moves to Jacksonville.
We'll do
that. We'll do that. Well, brother, thank you again for coming in. Just want to tell you Merry Christmas, and I'm thankful for our friendship. And even though we haven't been on the show for a while, we've flowed like old times.
Yeah.
So God bless you.
Love you, man.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to, the one way that you can support the show, the best way you can support the show is just go down and hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video specifically, hit the thumbs up button. And if you didn't, hit the thumbs down button twice. All right, guys, thank you for watching this episode. My name is Keith Foskey. And as always, I've been your Calvinist. May God bless you.